Hello, Guardians. Welcome back to Tower Casuals, the Destiny podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Corey Derrick, and alongside me, as always, is the Jotun Toten, the vault-dwelling, mayor of the Deepstone Crypt, the disciple, my favorite co-host on the Citadel, and the only man I would want to play Mario in my Mario movie, the one and only Josh Finney.
I don't know what that says about me. I'm actually a little unnerved by that. Okay, question for the week. Write in with your answers. Would me or Chris Pratt make a better Mario?
Give me your best It's a Me Mario, Josh.
It's a me, Mario!
That was pretty good, actually. I didn't know your voice could get that high, first of all.
I didn't either. That's a little alarming. I fully expected for my voice to crack during it. Before we jump into it's gonna be a really light show tonight. Gonna be fun. There's not a whole lot of TWABs going on in the middle of summer. Of course, that means knowing my luck, episode 100 is gonna be like when we get our state of the game from Joe Blackburn, since we're about 5 months removed from launch. Dude, if I swear to God, if that's what happens for episode 100, we're punting it for a week. We're punting Joe Blackburn's state of the game if that happens. I'm not discussing that on episode 100. Oh, man. Or you'll get like an episode 101 like the next day in your feeds. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not doing it in episode 100.
Yeah.
No. We ask you guys to write in every week, and we did an oopsie. We accidentally overlooked something in our emails. So,
oopsies.
We got a request for a shout out from one of our listeners. He wrote in and goes, "Hey guys, big fan of the podcast. My buddy and I listen weekly. I was wondering if I could get a shout out for him. He'll never expect it. He loved it. So World Jukebox, this is your shout out from us. Thank you for listening. You and your buddy Dave every week. Thank you for your support. Dave, I'm going to save the other part of your email, though, that you wrote in, because I really liked the rest of it. What the game has meant to you guys. Y'all play this game as a duo. You've done all the dungeons as a duo. I really loved reading that. I want to save the rest of it for our episode 100 memories that Corey and I are going to share. And Nerd Generalist and A1 Johnny are going to join us. We're all going to share our favorite Destiny memories.
Yes.
And, of course, like we asked, you guys send in favorite Destiny moments. It doesn't have to be like, oh my god, the first time I did a raid. It can be something just like it can be something funny. It can be something serious. The first time you got a title.
Like if you blew up a Sparrow during Sparrow Racing League, that, maybe you thought that was funny.
I have no memories of Sparrow Racing League, so send in your Sparrow Racing League memories and memes for me.
What if that was all the emails for our episode was 100? Is just everybody sent in Sparrow Racing League memory, and we were just like, oh no, that's not what
I'm canceling the giveaway if that happens. I'm canceling the giveaway.
Yeah.
I'm still shoring up what exactly the final things we're going to do, but we're leaning towards a couple emblems and a physical grimoire or graphic novel of some kind for our giveaway. We will have the exact
We should sign it.
That was my idea. I was going to surprise you with that, but that was my idea, was that Corey and I will, when we figure out who the winner of the book is, that we will each write a little message in it, sign it, and then send it to you. Due to just how astronomical shipping costs are, you're going to have to live in North America. I'm really sorry to anybody listening internationally, but you guys can still get the emblems that I'm going to give away. I don't know if you guys know this, but I buy a lot of stuff from the Bungie store.
No.
So I have a bunch of emblems that we want to give away for episode 100. I've got at least like 4 or 5 that I'm planning on getting. Just got to make sure that all the codes are still accurate. And then we'll be good to go. So kind of the parameters of what we're thinking for that is once episode 100 posts, we'll give you another reminder during episode 100. And we're telling you now so you can think in advance. There should be 3 ways to enter. 1, send us a screenshot of you leaving us a rating on either Spotify or Apple Podcasts. 2, leave us an actual review. And then 3, send in a question or a memory for us to read out on episode 100.
Yes.
I am fully aware this means we are probably going to get super, super overloaded with questions and memories. We'll prioritize memories. Questions, we may bank, but you will 100% get your point for entering. So 3 ways to win: rate, review, send in a question or a memory. You can send those to myself, to Corey, to our Twitter account at TowerCasuals, or TowerCasuals@gmail.com.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the ways that you can enter that. So get your questions cooking. Give us some good questions. Give us some wacky hypotheticals. Give us some safe for work hypotheticals. I should go ahead and I'm going to cut the head off of this one right now. Safe for work hypotheticals. Okay? Nothing that, no fuck, marry, kill, nothing like that. We're not doing that. We're not doing that on episode 100. Maybe 200, not
Zavala
100.
salad in her shacks, Josh.
Oh my God. Jesus Christ. Okay, you know what? Never mind. Corey just blew the lid off of it. Forget it. Give me your funniest questions. Give me your wildest questions. It will be at my discretion if we read them. That's what I'll leave it at. It will be at my discretion. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Anyways, and it must be Destiny related. It needs to be Destiny and or Bungie related, because it'll be on Bungie Day. Bungie Day is 2 weeks away. This is episode 98. 2 weeks from now. Tower Casuals 100. Next week, we will have an exact time that we are going to go live. We are going to do the show live. We don't do shows live anymore, but we are going to do it live. That's the plan right now. And yeah, we will have an exact time. We're probably leaning around somewhere around like 7:30 Eastern. Not 7:30 Eastern, 8:30 Eastern. My bad.
Yeah.
I'm thinking Central. 8:30 Eastern, 7:30 Central is what we're leaning towards, trying to get as many people home as possible. I know that kind of screws Pacific time zone, just due to the nature of everybody having, kids and other obligations. That's kind of the latest we can start. So for those of you on the commute home, twitch.tv/TowerCasuals. You can listen to us audio.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So with that, though, Corey, it's been a jam-packed week.
Oh my
Not
gosh.
necessarily in Destiny. I mean, there's been some stuff in Destiny. But,
there has been, but
it's
also,
been a wild week.
Yeah.
It's been a while. We got not Buzz Lightyear, the movie that came out.
Not Buzz
We got the end of Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Kenobi ending was good.
It was fucking wild. I understand, and I totally understand not liking the rest of the series, but that episode made it all worth it. If you didn't like the rest of it, I feel like, yep, this was awesome. That was exactly what I wanted from a Kenobi series, and it delivered. Even if it took me 5 hours to get there.
Did you see they changed it today from series finale to season finale on Disney Plus?
Yeah, I saw. So they've labeled other ones as season finales too, and that just, it makes me like really skeptical, because I don't want them to push it. Like, I don't think you can feasibly do another story that features Luke, Leia, the Organa family. I don't think you can do any of that.
Well, they're gonna be like the Organas are gonna be.
You can't do Obi-Wan versus Vader anymore.
No,
you just can't. You can't at this point. So like, what do you do with them? Like, and I don't want to like go full tilt on spoilers. It's only been out for like 36 hours. But at a certain point, you have to be like, okay, Ian McGregor is the draw here. What is the compelling story that we do now? And I'm sure they can come up with something, but if he's always leaving Tatooine, what the fuck were you doing there in the first place then, dude?
Right.
Like, there's only... That's why, like, okay, I don't want him to push it. They've actually told a really great Obi-Wan Kenobi flashback story in the main Star Wars comic through Marvel Comics. Mm-hmm. The outfit he's wearing at the end is specifically one of the comic covers, which I love. They captured it exactly. And it's like, oh man, this translated better than I could have ever thought. Like, there's definitely things to do. I would just almost rather it be like McGregor is narrating and like it's in the past. I would love a live action Clone Wars miniseries, just like 6 episodes. Ian McGregor, Hayden Christensen. Let's just do it. Do it when Hayden has grown his hair out, though.
Yeah.
Give him the Revenge of the Sith haircut, so maybe it masks how old he looks.
Right. I mean, you could almost put Ahsoka in there too, but I feel like you could do the three
Ladies
of them.
and gentlemen, I have feelings about Ahsoka, and they're feelings that will get me kicked out of the larger Star Wars community. So I'm going to keep them to myself.
Good thing we don't do a Star Wars podcast. Good thing this is a Destiny podcast.
Oh man, that would be controversial. But yeah.
How do you feel about lightsabers in Destiny there, Josh?
You could still put him in, like... Because the rumor came out this week, there's going to be a Cal Kestis series.
Oh, God.
Cal Kestis from Jedi Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor. I could see Kenobi showing up for an episode there.
Uh-huh.
That would make sense to me. They have 5 years to fill between Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor.
Mm-hmm.
So there's been dumber things. It's just like, I'm ready to leave the Skywalkers, Darth Vader, Obi-Wan Kenobi. I'm ready to leave all those, Yoda, all those people behind. Like, for Ahsoka, anyone associated with the Skywalker clan, I'm ready to leave behind. Bring on Taika Waititi's Star Wars.
Yeah.
Bring on Taika Waititi.
Yeah. His takes place after everything, right?
We have no idea anymore. So Rogue Squadron was supposed to take place after The Rise of Skywalker. Nobody knows when Taika's takes place, but he's been pretty adamant in recent interviews that he does not want any existing characters in his movie.
Yeah.
I would love for him to do like something set like in the Old Republic. Because I think he's probably going to go for a more lighthearted movie. Like, I mean, look at the kind of like level of like comedy and like violence that's in Ragnarok, and that's probably what you could expect.
Mm-hmm.
So if you didn't like Ragnarok, I'm really sorry, but that's probably what you're getting.
Yeah. Star Wars Ragnarok.
Anyways, Corey.
Kenobi Ragnarok.
Kenobi Ragnarok, yeah.
About Obi-Wan's
the TWAB is
brother.
Non-existent.
About Obi-Wan's brother.
Oh my god. I finally got away from the Rey as Obi-Wan Kenobi's granddaughter theories. I don't need this again. The TWAB is non-existent. Yet again, ladies and gentlemen. It's just not here. Freelance Trials is back next week, and there's an update on the DMCA catastrophe that happened back in March.
Yay.
I guess we will actually address that one real quick. Just like, man, there was a whole bunch of stuff that came out yesterday. I'm not naming any names. I don't know for a fact if it's credible or not. But Bungie basically indirectly confirms here that any of the talk you saw going around on Tuesday and Wednesday was completely accurate, that person is the person that they are going after. They're suing them for $7 million.
Oh, jeez. Good luck with
$7 million. And it gets worse, people. It gets worse. They also sued one of the cheat makers and got a $13.5 million settlement from them.
Mm-hmm. I saw that.
That came out on Monday, I believe. Kotaku was reporting on that. So the bottom line is, don't fuck with Bungie and their content creators.
Yeah, they'll get you.
Yeah, Bife, I will say, I think Bife had a really good thread on this yesterday, and I had it pulled up before I had to change between like 15 different accounts. I want to read some of Bife's comments real quick on this, because I think that he was one of the guys directly impacted by it.
Right.
It wasn't just the overwhelming majority of it was Destiny music,
mm-hmm.
but he had claims put on his stuff. I believe Datto did. Astacross did. I think True Vanguard had one or two that were flagged. This person basically was just like really pissed off. The long and the short of it is, the person who did this, their YouTube channel had a bunch of music that was directly ripped from Bungie's website. Mm-hmm. Basically, they bought the MP3s and then just uploaded them and claimed them as their own. And when Bungie said, no, you can't do that, he decided, well, fuck y'all, and put in claims on anybody who had Destiny music or was a popular content creator at that point. Mm-hmm. Thinking, haha, I'll get away with it. Well, now YouTube and Twitch are revising all of their policies as a result of this guy. So, GG's, man. You inadvertently made big companies change things. It's just going to cost you $7 million and maybe going to prison.
Right.
I just don't know a nicer way to say that. So, like, the court documents are out there. I'm I'm not going through any of that. It's in Bife's thread. The defendant is named in it, by the way. So go for it. Just, like we always ask, no witch hunting, no chasing this person. Now they've completely wiped their Twitter account and I believe their YouTube channel off the face of the map. Where is I'm not stopping you from reading the documents and finding out for yourself. I will not be referring to the defendant by name. They don't get my platform. In my opinion, they've already stolen enough of it from me and others. There are two things I want to talk about. The first thing is this. As much as the sentiment in the community isn't all loving towards Bungie right now, I need you all to understand how important this is for us. Their legal team went to bat for us specifically. The lawsuit says as much. Yes, absolutely, this is Bungie protecting their bottom line, but it's acknowledging as well that without the community surrounding their game, they cease to exist. Not to mention this will create protections for creators in the future. This is a sterling moment for Bungie, and they came to the conclusion that they should go to bat for us despite all the awfulness that we've thrown their way. I know Bungie employees have experienced everything from being doxxed to receiving death threats. Of course, we talked about this with Kevin Yanes stuff a couple weeks ago, with stuff with Leon Rupert, and with Damage. We've talked about this a lot. Mm-hmm. Like 99% of this community is very good, but man, that 1% is really fucking bad.
Yeah.
Even after all that, they're still here. So in this moment, when we went to bat and are spending legal fees defending our community, I think we should all be able to swallow whatever grief we have at the state of the game and be thankful that we have a developer that's doing this for us. But there's a further reason to be thankful, and that's because of what the YouTube side of all this entails. This is my second thing. It is completely possible that this could happen again. A single person proved that it was possible to fool YouTube's lax internal systems. For context and clarity, YouTube and Twitch generally are still in a relative wild west of the internet. This is very much the case for copyright laws in particular, which historically have been abused all the time with no real recourse for creators who are struck falsely. For instance, you look at how much shit Nintendo claims, okay? Like, you cannot post things with Nintendo gameplay without them claiming it. Mm-hmm. That's like bonkers. I'm very thankful we've never had that with Destiny. Like, it's very publicized.
Yeah.
How Nintendo and some other companies react to it, and it's because of shit like this that they overreact.
Yeah.
It's telling when some days it feels like I have a firmer grasp of what is considered fair use under DMCA than a large company which is happy to use copyright systems of sites like YouTube or Twitch like a cudgel, despite the illegality of such an act. The ruling here is important because it establishes consequences. You want to falsely take down someone's video, you have consequences to deal with. Precedent will be made here, and that's a big first step to establishing that creators should be protected. That's doubly important for small creators. The moment I got hit, I passed the notes on to my YouTube partner manager, and they were able to assist in escalating things. Smaller channels don't have that, but a precedent like this will protect them. And while I talk about big corporations, the reality is that copyright trolls exist. It used to be the case that YouTube allowed people to copyright troll you and just harvest your content's income with zero repercussions. There are also, of course, people who did it to create fear. If Bungie does stick to this point to YouTube, then they're hopefully pushing them towards more changes on the whole platform. That's hopefully a push towards a safer working environment for everyone who uses YouTube legitimately, as a solid 99.9% of content creators do. The ruling has not been decided yet, but I hear Bungie's legal team has some sharp minds and sharper metaphorical teeth. I look forward to the outcome and hope it leads to a better space for content creation and a community it fosters. So, we're going to talk about this real quick because, Corey and I are both content creators. You've heard about how many shows Corey is on. This show is my baby. I've had other projects in the past that I love, and, things that I've been beyond just, podcasting and YouTube, things that I've been a part of that I have wondered, is this going to be copyright stricken? Is this going to get hit by DMCA because of my choice of audio or what? Mm-hmm. And it's pretty telling when we have to live in a constant state of that, not just from record companies, but from fellow creators.
Yeah.
So I think Bife hits the nail on the head here when he says, this is really, this is important for everyone. And, this is a big win for us as a community beyond just, the big name content creators. But this is really important for the smaller ones mm-hmm. who really rely on YouTube and Twitch for their income, for their views. This is super, super important. For Corey and I, it would be the equivalent would be, say somebody could hit us with a DMCA or with a copyright notice for just discussing the game on Spotify. That would kind of be the equivalent for what people like Bife were getting hit with from this guy. Mm-hmm. So just to put everything in perspective, when you see people like Bife or Datto or somebody like that making a huge deal out of this, there's a reason they're making a huge deal. Like he said, like for us, it was an annoyance. And if you go back, you can find Bife's threads from when this was happening. And he's like, what the hell is this? Mm-hmm. And very quickly, everyone came to the conclusion it was not Bungie doing it. It was somebody masquerading as Bungie. We now know how they did it with a fake email address, blah, 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 blah. And at that point, you know, we all assumed it was CSC doing it. That's not what it is. It becomes sticky, right? It becomes really murky. Like, if you're a content creator, how do you make sure that your content's not going to get hit? And like Bife says, there is no way to avoid the trolls. Right. But hopefully, if this person does get hit, maybe not even for the full amount, but any significant amount of money or legal consequences will make people think 2 or 3 times about doing this in the future. Especially when it comes to a community that is backed by a major corporation. You know, it's Bungie, and it will soon be Sony standing behind this and going, no, you can't do this. You can't falsely copyright things like that anymore. I think this person probably thought, oh, well, you know, Bungie doesn't seem like they care too much. They're pretty lax towards everything. I'm going to do this and just create a whole bunch of chaos because nothing's ever going to happen to me. It's very well documented. YouTube really doesn't care.
Right. Yeah. It's I can't believe with how many people are on YouTube that YouTube just doesn't have a better system, you know, like it just,
I can't either.
It boggles my mind.
It blows my mind that you can be under the Google umbrella and not have that.
Yeah. But I mean, also Google is known for, you know, half-assing ideas, right? I mean, like
that's true. It's true.
And like, I know YouTube's their biggest moneymaker, right? In terms of ad revenue and whatever, but like you should still, you know, I mean, it's the same problem I have with Amazon and Twitch, right? Is like, I feel like Twitch could be a little bit better with how much money Amazon makes, right? Like, I mean, there's some features that I wish were a little bit better, or not saying that like Twitch is a bad platform or anything, because it's not. It's just like, there's some things that are kind of cumbersome and complicated. And I would like it to be more functional and easier for the user, you know, and YouTube should be the same way. And it just boggles my mind that like a platform as big as YouTube does not have this in place already. These protections, especially to protect partners, you know? So.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what else we can say on this that we haven't said already, or that Bife didn't sum up for us really well.
Right.
It's just, this is something that we won't know a whole lot more until a ruling is decided, but it has been filed in court. They are suing the person. Been able to finally identify who it was. 3 months of trying to figure out who this was, by the way. There was a whole stink being created earlier this week about it, about like, Bungie's been silent for 3 months now, and it's like, well, this is why they've been silent. They've been figuring out who the hell it is and drafting up a legal brief. Mm-hmm. So we'll continue, you know, monitoring this, because this is something that, you know, affects us. This affects people who watch this show, you know. For example, I know Andre, you know, does streaming and content creation. Like, this isn't something that is just limited to, oh, well, you know, that's just something that's affecting, you know, Bife and a few people uploading music. Like, no, like, if we do that, if we're lax about that, then it will eventually be the little guys.
Right.
It will eventually be, you know, podcasts and the smaller shows, and we don't ever want to get to a point where that's happening.
Yeah, I mean, so for my other YouTube channel, I've had to delete stuff because we were getting struck with, you know, music copywriting.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had to, like, it's the reason why we don't do like Let's Plays and stuff, because like I am so deathly afraid of getting those strikes, you know?
Right. Well, and I mean, especially because like I know the main channel you're talking about. You know, we mentioned the Nintendo stuff earlier. Like, they are very, very picky about that, any of that. I'd be deathly afraid to do a Let's Play at this point. Like, I have friends who they've streamed Nintendo titles on Twitch and then deleted their VODs immediately. Just because they're so afraid. I mean, I don't think it'll ever go that far, but we've seen them like overreach time and time and time again. You want to talk about a AAA company that does it? They're kind of the antithesis of Bungie in that regard.
Yeah.
I don't think that they would not be going to bat at all. Like, as much as I love Nintendo, they would not go to bat in this
Well, you
case.
remember Nintendo used to have that creators program that creators had to
literally
sign up for this creators program just to do Nintendo content, you know?
Then they took that away too, I believe.
They did, which was like one step in the right direction, but also like they didn't take any other action after that. You know, people still get strikes and whatever, you know, so it's just people playing Nintendo games with music off is just ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean that's half the charm, right? It's like playing Destiny without the Destiny music in the background. I feel like, I mean, I listen to Spotify a lot, but the Destiny soundtrack is like so good. Like, I guess the better comparison is trying to play through the Halo campaign without Marty O'Donnell's score, right? That's basically what it is. I'm like, oh, well, that's just weird.
Yeah. Who does that?
Yeah, it's not great. But with that, we are going to move on. Like I said, kind of a little bit more of a lighthearted show. We're getting business out of the way first tonight. We posed a question to you guys earlier this week.
We did.
It's something that's really been weighing on me this season. Not in a bad way. I want to clarify really quickly. It's not in a bad way. You know, we've always said if you're feeling burned out, take a break from the grind. It's okay. Earlier this week on our Twitter account, we asked a question for our Guardian followers. What are other games you're playing right now? Are you still grinding out Destiny, or are you taking a break? And I want to read some of y'all's responses first, because I think that Corey and I are both on the same wavelength as y'all. So the first one that we got, of course, you know, who better to start out with than Andre? I think I've hit a burnout for Destiny. I still keep up with the story, but after reset, I don't really grind it out like I used to. Just not a whole lot to work with, and PvP is just PvP. I'm really enjoying Cyberpunk a lot lately. Cameron wrote in. It said, definitely still grinding Destiny, but Elden Ring pulls me away for a few times a week. Clancy 5000. Destiny is all I currently play. I try and find time for Destiny every day alongside alongside life and work commitments. But the pinnacle grind alongside the current state of weapon RNG and crafting means it's like a second job. Then there's the pull of soloing dungeons, etc. I love D2, listening to podcasts, watching YouTube, scrolling Twitter. I get FOMO when I see streamers crafting god rolls. I need to learn to accept that I may not end up getting to that point this season. I think the game is asking a bit much of late, but I love every damn minute. And I think we had one more. RushJet TV, always on the grind, but much slower this season than previous ones. Just a good time to check out other things while keeping D2 in the back burner. Or on the back burner, excuse me. I agree with basically everybody. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Clancy, I'm sorry. I feel like you're kind of the outlier here, and there's nothing wrong. There's totally nothing wrong.
Why are you still playing, Clancy?
Yeah, this is you're the A1 Johnny right now in the responses. John grinds it more than anybody that I know, and that's not a bad thing at all. I've always said that, like, Destiny for me is my main game, and I play other things around it. Mm-hmm. And I kind of feel like the last couple months really the last 2 months I've kind of shifted away. Like I was all in on Witch Queen, I hit that, but the seasonal story only being 4 weeks last season was such like a relief for me. Mm-hmm. I felt like I could take time after I was going for about the first month, and then I took my vacation, and coming back from vacation I was like, man, I just went away from Destiny for like 8 days. I don't feel like I have to go crazy with it now. I still played some, and I want to be really clear. Like, I'm still logging in on reset day. I'm getting the story done so I don't get spoiled. I'm probably hanging out in PvP on the weekends a little bit with my friends, but I am over doing 2 resets to get a fucking weapon ornament. I'm over grinding out, I have to get to the pinnacle cap this season. Like, no, I don't. It's only 10 power. I don't feel pressured to get to it. Like, will I still earn my seal? Sure. Like, I'm still going to earn the Haunted Seal just from hanging out on the Leviathan. You know, I may have to actually put in a little bit of work to get this one done, but most of it's just kind of gimme stuff outside of, like, the public event things. There's no ridiculous exotic quest you have to go do on master difficulty or something. It's kind of the antithesis of that Risen seal that we talked about last season. So, like, this is kind of season of the cleanup for me, but I absolutely am going to echo the comment that Clancy made about weapon RNG and crafting feeling like a second job. That is, without a doubt, the number one thing that has pushed me away from this game is crafting. No, nothing has made me want to stop playing Destiny more than just how atrociously bad the drop rates are for red bordered weapons. For red borders that are actually useful, I might add. So, like, I'll paint a picture here. I really struggled last season with getting any non-guaranteed red borders that you could get out of the rewards track and out of the tiers as you upgraded your seasonal artifact at the war table. I really struggled to get any red borders. This season has been a little bit better in that regard. A little bit, not much. But last season there were 6 weapons. I was playing the expansion, so I was grinding stuff out alongside. They're like, oh, I'm going to go run Battlegrounds, and I'm going to run bounties in between doing stuff on the Throne World and doing Vow of the Disciple and, going and doing the new strikes and, doing all the Altars of Reflection and things like that. I don't have that draw this season. The solution is go play a public event for hours and hours and hours and hours. This event is significantly better than Seraph Towers ever was, and I really hate the false equivalency I see being drawn with that. There are 2 areas to go to on the Leviathan, but not opening up more of it like the Undercroft week after week, like that, Callus's Throne Room area, like not opening those up for exploration, I think severely hurt this game.
Yeah.
Like it severely hurt this season.
Yeah.
So, definitely not a fan.
Yeah, it's been I still have like a standing date to play Destiny at least once a week with Mitch, and like but like it's become our way to hang out, during the pandemic and
I mean that's been my stance. I've said it, it's my social game.
Yeah.
So yeah, totally agree.
And when he moved and he lives farther away now, and it's just our way to keep hanging out, and if we do something fun and whatever, if we want to grind 2 or 3 times a week, then we will. But I mean, at this point it's been Saturday nights we'll play for 2 or 3 hours, maybe do a dungeon, maybe go do some pinnacle stuff, maybe run the Leviathan, and then we'll call it a night. So I mean,
I think the Leviathan is overall I guess I'll just go ahead and give my opinion on this now since we're discussing it. I want to go more in depth when we get later into this season and we kind of start talking about like a review of it. But the Leviathan, I think to me at best feels underwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
I won't go so far to be like, oh, this is a complete catastrophe. And I understand saving, oh my God, I just lost my complete train of thought. No, I understand saving things like the Gauntlet and the Undercroft and things like that for the Sever missions, but that just feels like such a missed opportunity. Like you could have really like had Season of the Dead space, I feel.
Yeah.
It could have really been the Glykon, just supersized. I mean, you have the entire area from Eater of Worlds and Spire of Stars that you could have explored.
How crazy would it have been if like you get to the Leviathan and like it's just like a surprise, kind of like the nightmares were like an enemy race now, kind of like the Taken in a sense. Like,
yeah, I guess.
I mean, you could have like generic ones, but then like I don't, and then like the boss ones could be like Gaul or whatever.
Yeah, I kind of have gotten to the point with Gaul that he feels almost like a meme like Taniks. We just keep coming back to him. But it's been in a much shorter span of time with him.
Yeah.
At least Taniks was spread over 2 games, multiple expansions. Gaul, it's been like, oh my God, we can't get away from this guy. It's so... That's what I felt this week during the Sever mission. I was just like, man, really? We're doing Gaul again? Really?
Yeah.
And it wasn't bad, but it wasn't good either.
Yeah.
The storyline was great, and that's the thing that keeps me coming back. Like, and I agree where people are saying like, oh yeah, I really like coming in for the story. I like tuning in for it. I totally agree with what Andre is saying though. I feel like I finally have hit my burnout point in trying to avoid a burnout. I've never taken more than like a 2, maybe 3 week break at a time from this game since oh God, beginning of Season of Opulence. So 3 years now. I basically have the longest break I've ever taken is 3 weeks, and that was like the 3 weeks right before Beyond Light, I think.
Right.
I don't think I've taken another like big break since.
Yeah.
I've taken again like a week or two here and there, but I was still, even on breaks, I was still logging in like once a week to at least check out Eververse or go get some quick Bright Dust and a few PvP matches. Like it's unsustainable. I made a quip about this. I answered our own question on Twitter and says, like right now, I'm considering pulling back now so that I'm more used to it as we go into Q1 2023, because you're going to have Lightfall come out. But if release dates stay what we're expecting them to, you're going to have another Breath of the Wild game and you're going to have Starfield, both of which are a high priority for me. So, like, no franchise gets me excited like The Legend of Zelda, and no studio, aside from Bungie, gets me hyped like Bethesda's main team. So, I'm expecting a return to form there. Like, those are both going to be games that if their predecessors were any indicator, I'm going to spend 100 hours easily in both of those. Especially if you're going to tell me that Starfield is expected to be 20 to 30% bigger than Fallout 4 and Skyrim. Like, yeah, I'm going to spend a lot of time in this game, even before expansions. Breath of the Wild, I don't know how you can make Breath of the Wild 2 any bigger, but cool. I spent 130-something hours, and I didn't even finish the DLC because I was so done with that game. So I'm just at this point praying that God of War is this year, I guess.
Yeah,
to
maybe.
Give me something to break up, because there's nothing to play right now, I feel, and yet I don't find myself wanting to play Destiny. I find myself playing it once, maybe twice a week. I have been playing a lot of Fortnite otherwise. They have something new every couple weeks. There is actually a storyline going on in there. I fought Darth Vader in Fortnite this morning. Not somebody in a Darth Vader skin. I actually fought Darth Vader, the boss, and a platoon of stormtroopers in Fortnite, and it was awesome. He killed my banana using a lightsaber that he threw.
It was really cool.
Banana. I have a banana skin. I have a Peely skin. Yes. It's such a weird, wacky game, but it's just something I can pop in. There's no pressure to do good. I don't care if I win or lose.
Yeah,
I'm just there to have fun with my friends.
The no build mode makes that game infinitely more appealing to me.
Infinitely more appealing. That, and I have been playing one mode with building, Team Rumble. I don't do any building. I just burn everybody's buildings down. It's been a lot of fun, though, but I think discovering other multiplayer experiences has been really great, because I've never been a Battle Royale guy. And I feel like if you're not a Battle Royale, your multiplayer is probably dead on arrival at this point. Unless you're Call of Duty, obviously. But, like, Halo, I don't want to go back to Halo right now. Not that I don't like Infinite, it's just, like, I played so much Halo.
Right.
The first 2 or 3 months, that was the game I was playing nightly while I was waiting for Witch Queen to come out. Then Witch Queen came out, and I don't think I've picked up Halo since.
Right.
I've played very little to, like, maybe finish out my samurai armor, I think was it. And other than that, I bought the new pass for the season. I played 2 matches, and then I was done. I was like, nope, I'm good. I'm good. I'll come back when it's a battle pass that I care about. Campaign co-op will get me back, but just this whole summer and even stretching into parts of the fall is pretty barren.
I know.
When you get to September and October, you'll have some stuff, but if you are feeling burned out, I implore you to take a break. Do not get burned out enough to where you're like, man, fuck it, I'm just going to watch Bife videos.
Yeah.
That is the point I want to avoid. I never want to get to the point where I'm like, fuck it, I'll watch Bife. Not that Bife isn't good. I tell people who have missed a couple of seasons, just go watch Bife. Don't grind it all out. Grind out the current stuff with us.
Yeah.
Go watch the Bife videos.
Yeah, that's my you know, like before we started the show, I had missed a couple seasons.
Yeah.
And I was like, if we're gonna do this, I need to catch up, because I took a couple seasons off. You know, I think I played through the Shadowkeep campaign, and then I was so burned out that I was like, I'm done right now. I gotta put it down. You know.
Yeah.
And that was at a point where, like, it wasn't keeping up weekly and doing great things weekly, and you know, that kind of thing. So, but yeah, I mean, I've been using this time to play other games. Like, I'm playing Death's Door right now, which is a fantastic game.
Death's Door is great.
Yeah. I will probably check out Fire Emblem tomorrow, even though I don't like Warriors games. I'll play like the demo and be like, well, that's no.
You'll talk yourself into spending $60.
Yeah, don't tempt me, Josh. I'll just hate myself. I mean, but this is a time where I'm going to check out a backlog or catch up on some games that I played and didn't finish, or I still want to play Tunic, right? Which is another game that I wanted to try.
Tunic
out.
is probably my game of the year so far. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to. I'll check in once a week, right? Like Saturday night's my Destiny night with my friends, but I'm going to check out other games. Death's Door is fantastic, by the way. It's on sale on Switch right now. It's on Game Pass. It's great. Please play it if you like that kind of thing.
Yeah. Tunic and Death's Door are both on Game Pass. They're great. I mean, and that's kind of been what's sustaining me right now with without a bunch of major releases, I guess. Mm-hmm. I probably will say fuck it and dive into Elden Ring this summer with just how dry everything is. I'll be like, okay, fine. You guys win. I'll play Elden Ring and I'll play Horizon Forbidden West, neither of which really appeal to me. Mm-hmm. But I'm just so desperate for a single player game right now.
Yeah.
That is current that I want to play that. So I mean, I guess I would just say that I think it's okay. It's healthy to take a break from a game like this. I see so many people who play MMOs all the time. Like back in the day, a couple of my friends played nothing but World of Warcraft. And I mean nothing but World of Warcraft.
Right.
And ask me if they play WoW anymore. Yeah. No, they stopped 10 years ago because they got so burned out. They played everything from Burning Crusade, Lich King, and God, what was the one that came after Lich King? I want to say Mists of Pandaria or something.
Mists of Pandaria?
Mists of Pandaria. I think that's the one that came after. Because I don't think Cataclysm came after that. I lose track of which ones came out when. But whatever the one that came out after Lich King was, that's when so many of my friends were just like, oh my God, I'm burned out. I can't do this anymore. I've played WoW for 8 years straight. I'm paying monthly to play this game. I'm hate playing it at this point. I can't do it anymore. And then that led to a cycle of Overwatch, Diablo. Basically, the moral of the story is Blizzard games are really addicting. That's, I guess, what I'm trying to get at. Mm-hmm. But because of that, some of my friends were really leery to get into something like Destiny, and I don't blame them.
Right.
Even though Destiny isn't as bad with the loot boxes, that's what kind of cracks me up. Having played so much Fortnite is it makes some of the Destiny complaints seem really petty and be like, oh man, I complain about the monetization.
Dude,
man.
The Star Wars skins are $30.
I mean, a lot of the skins are pretty expensive.
I know.
I have unashamedly bought a few, and I don't get
I gotta tell you though, the Onyx Master Chief skin is pretty cool because
it's pretty great.
Because here's the thing, I bought the Master Chief skin on my Switch, right? Because it's just easier for me to buy stuff in that game on there for some reason. And then I logged into Xbox. I'm like, you know what? Maybe I'll play some Fortnite. And it's like, you've unlocked the Onyx Master Chief skin. You've unlocked the Onyx Marcus Phoenix skin. I'm like, sweet. So I got excited for Fortnite. Sorry, everybody. You can tune out now. Don't tune out. We love you.
Wait. So I guess that's probably that's probably about it, right? It's totally cool to play other games. Play things other than Destiny, man. Andre says he's playing Cyberpunk. Man, I was trying to balance Cyberpunk with Beyond Light when they both came out, and I think I would have rather played Cyberpunk when it was fixed. Mm-hmm. But I still had a good time with it. I know it's an unpopular opinion, but I had a lot of fun playing with the photo mode in that game, especially.
Yeah, I played Cyberpunk on Series X. I mean, I think it was the Xbox One version at the time, but it was it was fine. I didn't have any issues with it. It was fun.
It wasn't the worst thing ever, but man, it is night and day now.
Yeah, part of me wants to go back.
We played.
Part of me wants to go back and play replay it to see what the quote unquote real version is.
I can't do it. I absolutely cannot do it.
I mean, I'm not going to. I just said part of me wants to.
We had some other questions this week, though. So let's go ahead and let's get to some of those other questions and feedback that we had. Andre writes in saying that his mini series that he started last week with us, where we had A1 Johnny, we talked about our favorite exotic kinetics and our favorite ornament. So same question for energy, exotic, and ornament. So I'm assuming that this has to be an ornament for a special weapon.
Yeah.
Which, had I known that, I would have saved my Wither Horde answer. I mean, for me, like,
Fighting Lion.
It's literally in my intro. I have a toaster shaped like this thing at my house. It's Jotun.
He does. He does.
As for the ornament, that's kind of tricky. I'll have to think on the ornament. Corey, what's your favorite special weapon?
Telesto. Duh.
Oh, no. God, because it breaks the game all the time?
No, Telesto's just a joke and it's funny. But I mean, man, now I gotta think. It's not my favorite, but I have a soft spot for Hard Light because it was my first exotic ever.
Yeah, I can understand that.
I love auto rifles, and it's actually pretty useful in Destiny 2, the way you can switch the burn on it, right? It's pretty useful. Man, but in terms of favorite
I would
energy,
almost say Divinity ekes out over Jotun for me, because Divinity is such a unique exotic.
Yeah, I mean, Divinity's cool.
I 100 secretly love being the Divinity bitch. I love it.
We know you do. You like to complain about it, but then secretly you're like, yay.
I do complain about it quite a bit.
Yeah, it's all right. It's okay. We still keep you around. It's fine. I mean, it's funny because like what I would consider my quote unquote favorite or coolest ones are ones that are kind of worthless. Like like Lord of Wolves, I think is a really cool exotic for some reason, and it's useless. I mean, Wave Splitter is pretty fun to use sometimes, but it also kind of worthless. So I don't know. I'm kind of like running through the list here again just to see if I missed anything. But man, I really like the trace rifles. Like Prometheus Lens was fun that one weekend. I really like
Laser
Prometheus
tag.
Lens.
Laser tag weekend. Yeah.
So I mean, I know I named 3, but those are kind of the fun ones. You know, Graviton Lance is fun sometimes.
I would say for my favorite ornament, it would have to be Bloodline Memorial for Bastion.
Mm-hmm.
Or it would have to be I had something in my mind. I have Osiris one for Prometheus Lens.
Ooh. Neat.
I really like that one. It's kind of like plain because it's one of the older ornaments, but it's still like it fits the Trials theme just so good.
Right. Yeah. I'm trying to like. I don't know, man. I really like. I really like Telesto. I'm not gonna lie. I really do like Telesto. It's just like I'm either using Outbreak Perfected, right, or a heavy exotic, and so I very rarely use secondary exotics. You know, so like it's. I usually just pick like a garbage one if I have to, you know. But I don't even remember the last time I used an energy exotic, to be honest with you, because I'm usually either using like Gallarhorn or Sleeper Simulant or a primary, you know, and there's no room for those for energy ones in my tool set. I'm very stuck in my ways, Josh.
It's kind of how I am. I'm usually running a lot of Gallarhorn, or I'm running Divinity.
Yeah.
In high-end activities.
Yeah.
So Sleeper Stimulant, those all kind of work. So Andre, there's your answer for our favorites. We will see what heavy weapons have in store next week. God, I can't possibly imagine what the answer for heavy weapons is going to be.
Oh no.
Yeah, that's like the equivalent of like Kareem's skyhook. It's just gonna go in. It's like, yep, okay, Kobe it.
I bet I can guess what Josh's favorite exotic is. Favorite heavy exotic.
I swear to God, if you say it's a sword, I swear to God.
I mean, I wasn't gonna pick Black Talon, but if you insist.
I mean, listen, that pirate ornament makes me want to use it now. And then our last question tonight, Resident Dice Goblin, Sammy Gobbo, writes in, we all know about the nightmares plaguing the members of the tower this season, as well as the Empress. My question is, what would your Guardian's nightmare be?
Oh, God. What would your
It's 1,000 voices. It's 1,000 voices for me. That's absolutely what it is.
Oh, man. I don't know. Actually, you know who it would be? It would be Skolas.
Oh no, yeah, no. Skolas probably has to be it. The only time that I beat Skolas was about 3 weeks before the Taken King came out, and I remember it was the last moment of triumph that I needed. And a friend of mine who swore that he knew how to do Skolas got me and my best friend Matt in there. And Matt and we're pretty good. I would say we're pretty good Destiny players. We could probably, two-man some dungeons if we tried. We usually hold down in mechanics and DPS and raids, teach the encounters to people, etc. We get in there. This dude dies immediately. And I mean immediately.
I'm pretty sure I've heard this story before.
You've heard this story before because you know the person in question.
Oh, God.
He dies. The next 30 minutes, and I kid you not, is spent with the two of us running in what we coined the term as the loser lap around the arena, the biggest perimeter we can possibly make, only killing what we absolutely have to in front of us. And every once in a while, if we get enough distance, turn around and taking a pot shot at Skolas and then resuming running. We did not have enough time to stop for any reses at all, which is why it took us so long to do. This dude legitimately left his Xbox running, went and made dinner, and came back, and we were still running in circles and had not revived him.
Oh, my God.
Skolas is 100%. My joke answer is 1K, but my actual real answer has to be Skolas.
Yeah, Skolas is just... Look,
fuck Skolas.
Look, I know
fuck Skolas. I see people asking for Prison of Elders. No, you have no idea what you're asking for. Pre-Taken King Skolas.
Yeah.
Was awful.
Oh my God. Especially like if you had somebody that wasn't max level at the time, because remember they did that weird gear leveling system, right? Beforehand, where it wasn't like the first 20 levels were your levels, but then everything after that was like a light level. And if you were not max level for Skolas, you were not going to finish it.
Dude, even if you were max level, you're probably not finishing it. Let's be honest.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it was so hard. It was so hard.
Dude, it's so bad.
I remember like I still needed to finish it. So me and my one friend who I used to do my old Destiny podcast with, we were max level and we couldn't find somebody who like needed to do it. And we found one of our friends and he was 2 light levels underneath the cap. And it was a nightmare. He was one-shotted like all the time.
Yep.
Oh.
That's about what happened to us. Man, it is just the absolute worst thing that could have possibly happened. Yeah. Skolas is somebody that I am eager to never see return. Seeing his nightmare in Shadowkeep legitimately was like a little triggering for me.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh.
Pass.
It's so bad. It's so bad. Corey?
Yes, Josh.
Let's talk a little bit about the story this week before we go to the Lore Corner.
Let's do it.
I was going to go in the Lore Corner, and I remember we didn't touch the story. Caiatl. Fucking things up again.
Yeah, that Caiatl.
We knew this was coming when she wasn't part of the actual ritual, and we saw Golf appear behind her. The fact that she thought she could go fight the Nightmare on her own, though, was kind of funny. I'll admit, I laughed a little bit. I laughed just a little bit. I don't understand what her logic and reasoning was here, but I am intrigued that Gaul is her nightmare. We're starting to learn a little bit more about the history there between her and Gaul. I think that's an interesting way to bring him back into the fold because they kind of both led the rebellion against Callus.
Right.
Callus needed to be deposed, and then, you had the Red Legion and you had everybody else who was under Caiatl. We know that the first scouts of the Red Legion appeared in our system to the distress call on the Dreadnought during the Taken King, and then Gaul himself, of course, shows up in the city. And I think there's been some really poignant dialogue where, we talk about forgiveness and we talk about, moving on, and there's been some exchanges. That's one of the few things I really like about this public event is all the dialogue we get in it about the characters and their motivations. Zavala and Caiatl have a really good exchange, though, where they're talking about how many Guardians, the Cabal have killed, and how many Cabal the Guardians killed during the Red War, and that they are not each of those. Like, Zavala is not the one who was out there slaying the Cabal, and Caiatl is not the one who was killing the Guardians.
Right.
That we are not responsible for all the mistakes of our kind, that you cannot hold everybody responsible for the mistakes of a few. Right. And I think it's been a really powerful message throughout this whole season of us, going through and conquering traumas. We see Crow accept that he is parts of Uldren in him, but he is not Uldren. We see Zavala accept that his wife is dead, but that she will always be with her, and Hakim will always be with him. Right. And I feel like with Caiatl, we're going towards Gaul has been banished from her mind, but the lessons that he taught her will always stay with her. Because we've already gotten that kind of dialogue, right? We've already seen some of that, like, him calling her weak and saying, like, you've forgotten everything I ever taught you. And if you go read, some of the lore from this season, specifically from the dungeon, it's all about Callus and Caiatl when Caiatl was growing up. And I assume that eventually there will be some lore pages that will dive into, probably next week's, honestly, for the main storyline that will dive into Gaul and Caiatl's relationship. That feels like something that we're going to have to reconcile with, not just in next week's story, but at the end of the season also. That feels like something that's going to keep coming back up until we're done with Callus for good.
Right.
And I do think that the only reason that her nightmare is not Callus is because Callus is not technically dead. But the news that he may be fusing with the Leviathan is alarming.
Yeah, that's pretty,
That's not great.
No, it is not.
It's very, Hal in 2001: A Space Odyssey. It's very, very similar to that. I feel like he's just going to, like, autonomously start killing everybody on the Leviathan at some point. But we talked about it last week. There's been a true coalition of this merry band of characters that we've assembled. Like, there are fallen troops assisting the Cabal with their splicing technology here, which is interesting to me. But we're seeing the Aragorn spread also, and it's now spread into the Helm. Who could have ever seen this coming? Everybody.
I don't know.
Also, Bungie totally spoiled this a few days into the season when they showed one of the emotes and the entire Helm was covered in it. So yeah, I kind of expect it to happen next week.
Yeah.
It's pretty great. Like, at this point, we know that there will be one more step to the quest line, and I think we're all kind of feeling that it's going to be held until after Solstice. That they'll give us part 6 next week, which will be getting rid of the Nightmare of Gaul, and then part 7 feels like it will come up as soon as Solstice is done, because we'll only have a couple weeks left in the season at that point. Kind of feels like an epilogue, almost like a Season of the Splicer event to end off. Corey, I've become a believer that this may be the end for Eris. This season itself may be the end for her.
You think so?
It would be a bold move.
Bold move, Cotton.
Maybe not this season, but I think that this season could knock her out of the story for quite a while.
Yeah.
And then something will happen to her as Lightfall occurs. Something will happen.
I mean, it's probably time to step away from Eris for a little bit anyway, right? She's been...
Not only for a little bit, I think for good. Eris kind of became the character that the story latched onto after Cade, subconsciously.
Yeah.
We've talked about it before, but I was going back through and kind of remembering and going like, man, Eris really had a big impact on this story. You know, she is the instigator of the events in The Dark Below and in The Taken King. You know, we know what she was doing during the events of House of Wolves. She was coming up with the plan to ambush Oryx with Mara.
Mm-hmm.
Her and Mara were already preparing for that.
Right.
And then Eris disappeared weeks before the tower was hit by Gaul.
Right.
She left. We've lost. The Touch of Malice has been lost. We don't know where that is, so that's not good. We were talking last week about Kingsfall. I mean, hey, that could come into play. Like, that's how Oryx has been resurrected, because that's a piece of his spirit that's still alive.
Right.
Just like Whisper of the Worm is technically Zol incarnate.
Right.
There's plenty of avenues there, right? And then if we're going by when things get vaulted, I think you can pretty safely assume that the moon would be next. Because I do think we're leaving Earth behind. I don't know that Earth necessarily gets vaulted, but I could see them pulling something like, the moon and the tower are getting vaulted. We'll leave the EDZ and the Cosmodrome.
Yeah.
But everything else, but they're going to be changed. Like, we're gonna change the overlay of them a little bit, unless you're in the strikes.
The EDZ, man, I'm sorry, just get rid of it at this point.
So I would be ready for them to get rid of it, but you have to look at how much stuff is in both of those, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And they've converted all of the EDZ lost sectors to be legendary lost sectors, which I don't think is that bad. They've said that they can do that in under a day now. The Cosmodrome, I would say get rid of, but then you have to retool New Light again.
Yeah.
My problem
to be fair though, New Light needs retooled anyway.
It does, and I don't think it's going to happen until Goliath, which we're going to save our Goliath theories until we're going to talk about Goliath on episode 100. Yeah. We talked about it a couple weeks ago. I want to talk about it in depth again when we got more people here.
Right.
When we talk about the future of Destiny, but the EDZ and Nessus have long been rumored to be going away, and I just can't see either one of them or even the Cosmodrome going away now, because the new battlegrounds that we got this last season are going to go into the rotation.
Right.
They're presumably going into the Vanguard rotation.
Mm-hmm.
And why keep those areas? Because those are massive patrol zones that you just basically spice up for those missions. Why get rid of a total of like 6 missions for that? I'd rather just call it a day and get rid of the moon one and say, forget it and move on.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think the moon is pretty safe at this point.
Really? See, like, I think if anything gets vaulted, it's going to be the moon. So the Dreaming City
that's
is
what I said.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant like it's safe from getting vaulted.
Oh no, I'm saying I think it's pretty safe that it is the moon at this point.
I've seen theories that the Dreaming City will go away. That if we break the curse, because they don't want to break the gameplay loop of it, it'll be broken in the final events before Lightfall, which I could completely see happening.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd be okay with that, because I think with the Dreaming City, you would lose one of the coolest zones. But I think for them to vault that a year after creating a special pack that just has Last Wish, the Shattered Throne, and stuff like that in it would just be the ultimate, we're going to rally against Bungie for this now move. And I would kind of support people doing that at that point, because I think it's ridiculous. You'd be vaulting one of the best raids, even though it is by far and away the longest raid in the franchise.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I feel like when you finish the Dreaming City story, though, and you break the curse, you're going to have to vault the Dreaming City.
Yeah.
And you're going to have to give people advance warning. Like, if you're going to do that, you need to tell us by the time that Season 3 starts at the latest.
Yeah, but they've already shown that they can, like, they could totally put that raid in, like, the Legends section, right?
They can, and that's the next thing I wanted to get to is, I think if they did that and the Shattered Throne would likely get moved to there, because they don't exist in patrol areas, really.
Yeah. Well,
I think
even like Vault though, like you look at the Return of Vault, it's still just that one little area of Venus,
right? And that's what I'm saying. Like, you start Last Wish off in that open area in the Dreaming City, but they'll probably just put like invisible walls up,
right?
Like, you can't leave the area or go into the lost sectors or anything. And I'd be okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
Could see that happening. I know that See, like, I feel if you keep that, then you definitely vault the Moon and Garden of Salvation, because I think Garden is just, like, universally detested.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody would cry over Vault and Nightmare Hunts and things like that going away. And yet, again, if you were to do that, we could still keep the Scarlet Keep in rotation because it doesn't use any assets. We could still leave that as a strike. You can't leave the area anyways already in that strike.
Yeah.
And then we'll just move Pit of Heresy over. Right. But at some point, you have to start trimming the fat. So, like, maybe it's something where, like, we keep Pit of Heresy, but we let the Shattered Throne go away. We keep Last Wish, but we trade out Garden of Salvation.
Yeah.
Because when they have to create those expansive original spaces for the raids, that also eats up a lot of the space in the game.
Right.
I feel like those are pretty safe bets. I think after that, though, like, because their explanation for their in-game explanation for the content vault is if they vault the tower and the moon but not Earth, there's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that really doesn't make any sense, but at the same time, I don't think that they can vault the EDZ or the Cosmodrome just because of how many strikes are. There's 5 strikes between those two. There's about
could you
9-10 lost sectors. You just can't vault that stuff.
I mean, I know this would not make sense from a gameplay standpoint, but you think they could keep the strikes in there, but just vault the zones as like patrol areas? I mean, I know that doesn't really make sense because like you look at Lake of Shadows. I would say yes,
but like Lake of Shadows starts obliquely right there in the middle of the patrol area, and then I mean, Arms Dealer does also technically. It starts out in the ship, and then you're out there on the ground in the Deadlands area. Like, you have that, and then I think the battlegrounds are what completely throw the argument out the window because those are exclusively in patrol areas.
Yeah, you're right.
That gets really tricky. I saw an argument for getting rid of Nessus, and I was like, you can't do Nessus either. You got 2 battlegrounds, you got 4 strikes there.
Yeah.
Like, as badly as I think Nessus and the EDZ need to be retooled or go away for even like a year, Jesus, man. Like, I don't think you can do it. I would like to see if we can trade out and, like, get a full planet back, though. Because I think introducing any more new planets probably isn't going to work.
Well, could you think they could bring back zones on Mars?
That was going to kind of be my next solution, is, especially if they get rid of the tower, just make the Enclave, like, a new zone. Make that, like, the new tower of sorts.
Yeah.
I do think the capital ship is probably going to be everything. Like, if capital ships pan out, like last year's leak suggested, if capital ships become a thing, then or the Helm, I fully expect us to be able to do crafting from there. Like, crafting is going to have to be majorly reworked, right? Yeah. But as we look to the future, and I know this started out as the storyline, and, you know, we've definitely gotten away from that now as to what can be vaulted. Kind of circling back, I think they're going to be reluctant to vault anything that has to do with Caiatl or Mithrax for the immediate future, because Mithrax's story essentially has already been vaulted. Yeah. With Splicer going away, and with the Elixir Hoarder going away, and things like that. I don't think that they're going to be in any rush to say, well, we should just get rid of everything that Caiatl is in now, because I don't feel like Caiatl is dying anytime soon.
Yeah.
If she does, it'll be in, like, the lead up to the final shape. But I think that, like, Lightfall, to me, I think, like, makes the most sense if you look at it and say, well, obviously something is going to happen during the course of the campaign that rocks the Guardians. Whether that's the Traveler being truly captured, you know, like Savathun was trying to do. Yeah. Or, like, it's captured by the Witness. Our connection to the light gets... I really don't want another story of, we have to restore our light. I think that's stupid.
Yeah.
Especially after getting all 3 new subclasses, I really don't want to do that again.
Right.
But, like, us kind of fighting back, like, at some point we have to suffer some losses, right? Like, the only real loss we've ever suffered was during the Red War, and then we had
Cade.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. We really haven't lost anything since Cade.
Yeah. I mean, Osiris, I guess, technically a little bit, but I mean, there's always a potential he comes back because he's in a coma or whatever, right? I mean, not that he was as big as a player as Cade or anything, but they tried to make him that way, at least. Seem that way.
Yeah, I mean, like, here's the thing. I would be much more broken up about Osiris if we had actually seen Osiris's full power. Like, the fact that he loses Sagira off screen, and it's almost entirely because Marina Baccarin they couldn't pay her enough money to come back.
Yeah, but they could have recast her.
They could have recast, but at that point, then why do you recast just for a death scene, just for a couple lines of dialogue?
Well, I mean,
I think
not just that, but I mean,
the whole thing is silly that we never see Osiris lose and now we know why we don't see it on screen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now we understand why, because his body was taken over immediately afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that we didn't see that, and we just had to read a lore tab, is actually really aggravating still. This is the greatest, they call him the greatest Guardian that ever lived. And you're going to tell me that we don't get to see that scene?
Yeah.
Everything, as far as I'm concerned, what they can do with seasons is completely, everything is, off the board. I mean, hell, you could even get rid of some of these zones and still bring them back for a seasonal thing, like the Leviathan.
Right.
Like, the Derelict Leviathan is still going to be there for the next 2 seasons until Lightfall. And I wouldn't even be shocked if it became a full-on zone in Lightfall.
Yeah. No, I could.
I would not be shocked if it stuck around. Now, you'd have to give us all the zones at that point, but I wouldn't be shocked.
Yeah.
So, with that though, let's head to Lore Corner.
All right, Lore Corner.
Lore Corner. Let's do it.
Lore Corner.
Lore Corner. Yes. Okay. So the first one comes out of Voices of the Haunted. They finally put stuff in the API. I can finally read from these. I'm so excited. To forgive or forget. Neek tells me you have a question in need of an answer, Mithrax begins. Please sit. Amanda nods as she pulls up a folding chair next to the fire. She hadn't been back to the Elixni quarter since the Vex invasion. The light from the flames casts flickering shadows across the building's cracked concrete and exposed rebar. Yeah, Amanda says quietly. It's about Saint, sort of. She takes a deep breath before continuing. Everyone in the last city knows the stories. Hell, we used to call him Kellbreaker. And she stammers, avoiding the name. I've heard what your people used to call him, too. Mithrax hums a gruff assent as he settles into his own chair. Sorry, not assessment. Amanda wrings her hands together. How did you all forgive him? Her voice sounds small, but her words pierce the cool night air. Not all of us did, Mithrax replies solemnly. To this day, there are some in House Light who avoid him. Those who lost loved ones to his rage. Though he would give his life to protect them, nothing he can do will ever erase their pain. So they'll just go on hating him forever? Mithrax exhales deeply into his rebreather. One cannot choose who forgives them and who does not, he answers. That is the decision of those who were wronged, a choice each must make for themselves. Amanda nods to herself. Was afraid you'd say something like that, she remarks sadly. As she gets up to leave, she turns to Mithrax one last time. What made you forgive Saint? The Kell of Light leans back in his chair and stares into the fire like he is looking for something amid the ashes. Because, he says quietly, I want to be forgiven too. So this is pretty poignantly dealing with Amanda's feelings towards finding out that Crow is actually Uldren.
Right.
Everybody knows now after Savathun's little revelations. And she feels hurt by this. Crow had become her friend. They were becoming pals and laughing and telling jokes together. And then she found out that he's the guy who actually murdered Cade. And for Amanda, I feel like, I mean, you're having to look at the face of the person who killed one of your close friends. I never got the impression that Cade and Amanda were friends, but okay. We'll suspend disbelief here.
There's the one scene in in Taken King where he's like asking her to fix Eris's ship so they can go, right? And they have a little banter there, but that's like really the only time you see them together.
It's really surface level. I mean, like even in the lore, there's just not a whole lot there.
Yeah.
And it's like she is just like torn up about this. Like I would expect Ikora or Zavala to be upset because we actually saw their reactions. Mm-hmm. But it just feels really surface level for it to be her. I do like that they've been expanding upon that, though, and that they are really leaning into no, they were great friends, because I think that gives this some emotional weight, because everybody else is pretty desensitized to Crow now and is like, yeah, no, this guy's great. He makes some really stupid decisions, but he's great. I'm glad he's on our side.
Yeah.
And this season, I really hope this is the final season of anybody reckoning with who Crow used to be as Uldren, because it's very clear that they are not the same man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
On that, we have another side of the token, though. With our next lore piece, Without Remorse, this season's seasonal shotgun. How could I possibly be his ghost after all Uldren has done? It's a question I've been asked before. Most ghosts don't know who their guardians used to be. That's obviously not true in my case. My guardian was laid to rest under a shroud in the Dreaming City. Even if I didn't recognize his face, I would have put two and two together. Honestly, sometimes I even wonder if he figured it out before he spoke to Savathun. If what she showed him just confirmed what he already suspected. The thing is, I know a lot more about Crow than Savathun ever did. I know the smirk on his face when he pulls off something impossible. The way he flips his knife before throwing it. Even the way he averts his eyes when someone praises him. And sometimes, I wonder if Uldren shared any of these traits, his habits. Maybe. It's impossible for me to say for certain, but it doesn't really matter. Because I know that my guardian only takes risks when they are necessary, not for the thrill of it. He celebrates others' victories, not their losses. Everything he does is for someone else's benefit. He is humble. He is kind. That is who he really is. And it's up to me to remind him, because Crow is my guardian, not Uldren. You know, you can kind of tell that he had started putting two and two together.
Yeah.
When we even meet him, because I always think back to the lore tab about the Titan who sees him and just mutilates him.
Right.
Absolutely just spends time murdering him time and time and time again every time he's rest. To the point where Glint eventually won't do it. And Glint waits until they leave and then brings him back and helps him heal. And Uldren just basically says, why? Why do they hate me so much? And Glint tried to keep the truth from him and, he asked us not to tell him and this and that. We know Savathun told him, but Crow is a very smart individual. There's almost no way he didn't know or at least suspect something. I think if Mara had been in the story more, it would have been found out much earlier. But there's no way somebody didn't just pop off and say something. I suspect Spider said something at some point.
Yeah.
I mean, God, you talk about people that we still have to reckon with. Spider at some point.
Yeah. I keep forgetting that Spider exists, which I think might be the point when he shows up. You're like, oh my God.
Yeah, I mean, we know he's in the Last City now, but I suspect that he'll be part of Mithrax's story, which I really hope is next season. But that's beside the point. This shows two different things. Glint never hesitated to believe that Uldren was a good person.
Yeah.
Or that Crow is a good person, I guess I should say, not Uldren. This particular dialogue from Glint just reinforces for me that they are going to make Uldren Crow. God, now I'm doing it because we just read 2 war tabs about Uldren. Reinforces for me that Crow is either destined to be the new Hunter Vanguard or ultimately the next speaker, the first real speaker. Mm-hmm. They can't afford Bill Nighy back, but they can get Brendan O'Neill to record more dialogue. That's kind of how I feel like this is going. And as much as I like the character development that we've seen with Crow and with Glint, I'm a little upset that some of this is being relegated to the lore tabs where just so many people aren't going to see this. This is something that I feel like could have made for a good cutscene. But if every tab that I wanted made into even a sketched out cutscene was made into it, Bungie would need to triple their cinematic staff and increase their budget tenfold.
Do it.
So maybe it's a good thing that I'm not in charge of budget planning for what gets made into a cutscene. And what
I will
doesn't.
buy an extra cosmetic from Eververse.
Yeah, I will buy 1 extra cosmetic a season if you do this, Bungie. I will personally fund 1 hour of labor. I think that we're getting towards the end of, okay, Uldren, Crow. Crow needs to go away for a little bit. I really like him, but really the last year and a half, almost 2 years now, really since Beyond Light came out, has been the Crow story in seasons. The only exception, really, or at least he's been a major player in every season with the exception of Splicer.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only season where he hasn't been a major player, and even then he was still in the background enough.
Mm-hmm.
To the point that I was very surprised he didn't show up in the final cutscene where everybody's defending the Elixni.
Yeah.
But he was our vendor in Hunt. He was Zavala's bodyguard in Chosen, as well as starting to work with Saladin on field operations.
Mm-hmm.
He's an operative in the Batsa district during Splicer. During Lost is when he finds out the truth of who he was before he was resurrected, that he's Mara's sister, all this and that, and he specifically asks to be removed and put with Caiatl. He specifically asks to be the envoy there with Saladin. And then, of course, we all know what happened in Season of the Risen when Saladin had to forfeit himself to make sure that Crow was not killed.
Right.
There are just so many moving pieces right now. Like, it's very clear that he is one of the futures, if not the future of the franchise. He is destined to be the character that you fall in love with, and I think if you keep overusing him the way that they have, that's going to push more people away than actually get them to be sympathetic. Like, people that I previously saw were like, oh man, I'm all in on Crow's story. Risen kind of rubbed them the wrong way with just how rapidly things went downhill there in like a 3-week span.
Mm-hmm.
And then this season, there's like, oh my god, it's more of Crow moping. It's like, no, him getting rid of his demons is actually super important. You know, we went through Eris's whole quest line for Xenophage, we forget. And that conquering, you know, we conquer our own nightmares and our own failures during Shadowkeep, but we're really doing it representative of all the Guardians, right? Because you fight Crota, and that's when, you know, hundreds of Guardians died on the moon to Crota. Gaul with the Red War, and then, oh god, who's the other main nightmare we've, the Fanatic. The Fanatic is running around, and, you know, that's the murder of Cade that we weren't able to prevent.
Mm-hmm.
That one feels like the more personal one to me.
Yeah.
But you have all three of those as your nightmares. You know, Eris has her fire team that haunts her. Crow had Uldren. And we've been working on exercising everyone's demons and overcoming the trauma. And there's no better character currently in games, I don't think, than Crow for being representative of the idea that you are not your past. You aren't that. Your past decisions do not define you.
Right.
So I'm excited to see where they take Crow's story. I am ready for a Crow break, though, and I think that's where they got to be headed. Bring him back as a major player in the actual next expansion.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like, give him the next 2 seasons off, explore other areas of the story, maybe minor ones, maybe something that has to do with someone else, and then when Lightfall kicks off, maybe he's like the main focal point of the story, or like one of them, you know. So,
I agree. I think it's high time that we brought him in to be a main player in the actual storyline. And like, on a side note, like, hey, if Eris makes it out of the next couple of seasons, can we give her Finch as a ghost?
Yeah,
please.
I mean, that would make the most sense.
Corey, I think that's going to do it for us, though.
It's gonna do it. I'm ready for something big from Destiny. I just you know, I've been enjoying the small break, but you know, it's
I'm enjoying the break. I'm ready for a reason to tune in for more than just the story each week, which it's fine for me. Like, Tuesday just becomes a Destiny day for me.
Yeah.
And I have the luxury of being able to do that right now, but I imagine that, like, when I'm back to working, you know, full time, I'll probably take a night or two a week to do some Destiny stuff, and then I'm going to do other things. You know, there's so much good media these days that it's impossible to consume everything, and it's even harder if you play an ongoing game like this.
Yeah.
You know, I have to make choices. Like, I skip half the games I want to play because, hey, I'd rather play this narrative that I'm so engaged with now, like on one of my, you know, 3 nights a week that I can for sure sit down and game. I want to spend that in Destiny. So I got to be, real selective with my other time. And, you know, we were talking about Obi-Wan Kenobi at the top of the show. Like, well, you know, if you have a couple shows that you're into and they release on a weekly schedule, like, well, there's a couple hours of your time gone. If you have kids, there's the rest of your time. Like, time fills up real fast.
It does. It's man, time is very limited, to say the least. But,
yep. There have never been more opportunities to engage with good media, though. Mm-hmm. So,
yeah, everybody play what you love, watch what you love, take a break, experience other things.
Take a break, come back refreshed.
But you know what they should do, Josh? They should tune in live to episode 100 of Tower Casuals on Bungie Day. That's what they should do. Don't take a break on us on that day.
No, do not take a break from us. Engage with us. Have fun. Enter the giveaway.
Yes, enter the giveaway. I think I'm going to get something for the giveaway too.
Okay.
Because I'm gonna find something. It's I think it would be it should just be a celebration, So, well, anyway, I want to thank everybody for watching and/or listening to Tower Casuals, the Destiny podcast. You can follow us on Twitter at Tower Casuals. If you listen on iTunes or Spotify, please leave us a 5-star rating and review. Really help us out with discoverability. I appreciate all the new listeners that we've been getting. It's been fun to see our community grow. Keep sending us those questions. We love them. Send us your memories, all that good stuff. Josh, thank you for your time tonight, as always. Appreciate you. Where can we find you?
Always. Highlight of my week.
Where can we find you?
Twitter, at Josh_Finn, 2 N's. I'm probably going to be praying on hands and knees and on Twitter that the Mavericks do not end up with Kyrie Irving in the next week.
I'm sorry in advance, I guess.
Thank you.
You can find me at I am CorianHD on Twitter, Instagram. You can find me doing a bunch of other things on the internet. Remember to like, subscribe, share, rate, and review wherever you listen to Tower Casuals. Thank you so much for watching and or listening. Until next time, we love you. Goodbye.